What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our weekly MMA talk show called Chokes and Eye Pokes. I am your host, as always, Vern. I'm joined by my co-host, Jack. Jack, welcome back. How's everything?
Yeah, it's good. Thanks, Vern. How's everything your side?
Good, good. Yeah, no complaints. It was a really good weekend actually for me, picks-wise.
Yeah,
I got almost everything perfect. Yeah, UFC 298, crazy main event ending.
yeah,
But I'm happy to say we predict like quite a couple of like I mean you did technically predict Sean Strickland to beat Israel Adesanya and that was those odds were low and then Topuria ended up being low odds actually when they adjusted the odds. I know they were quite even, but
yeah.
he ended up being like a plus 200 underdog or something like that. So I don't think many people who expected Topuria to win expected it like that. But I'm glad to say on the show at least one of us predicted that,
That's
so I wasn't surprised.
yeah. I think your picks this weekend were really good. Mine kind of in the dumps, but yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, this weekend we're just going to run through the results real quick of UFC 298 historical pay-per-view. I don't have them in front of me, so Jack, I know you've got them in front of you. Do you mind just reading them out one by one, and we'll chat about them each one as they come.
yeah, sure thing. So the card opened up with Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov, and a second round submission to Anthony. Yeah,
Mhm.
quite a banger. What do you think?
Yeah, banger. As we thought. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I wasn't sure that he would be able to get the finish. Hernandez. So I went with the decision. But yeah, I think shame man that just taking that fight on short notice is just a bit too much. But give Hernandez credit though, I think it was a good performance still. Take nothing away from him. I think even on a full camp would have been tough for Kopylov to deal with that, eh?
yeah, definitely. Very much agree. I think that Hernandez, the way he controlled the pace of that fight was very telling to me. I think that especially in the second round, how he got to Kopylov. Yeah, it was his night. Kopylov, I don't think it takes too much. Well, he hasn't lost too much stock in my eyes, especially with the short notice. But it'd be great to see him bounce back from this.
100%, 100%. Okay, so I got that one right. Just not the method. So yeah, so one to zip there. Next fight was this one I remember Merab beating Henry Cejudo. What were the judges' scores there? Was it 29-28 across the
Yeah,
board?
yeah. So I think was it the first round that Henry got.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, that's fair. What did you think of that moment where Marab's like kissing Henry's back and looking at um, um, the Facebook owners
Mark
in the
Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg? Yeah, yeah. You're
Yeah, it
crazy.
was a bit weird to be honest with you because and it was actually on pretty tight, and then it seemed like he just lost focus,
Yeah,
and he was just thinking about Zuckerberg the whole time instead of just thinking on like finishing. Because usually once you lock up those positions, I mean Henry wasn't trying to do anything to defend that. So usually when he locks up that position, especially wrestlers, they like to they've got quite a tight hold in that and they finish those. So it was yeah, his mind was elsewhere, but brought it back again in the third round was just too much for Henry Cejudo. Even ended up picking him up, walking him to the other side. Or was that round two, I think? And yeah, complete domination. Again, I question why Henry Cejudo came back. I don't even know why he retired at his peak. I don't know if he was holding out for more money or what, but sad way for Henry to go. But yeah, fair result. I think did we call split decision or did we say unanimous decision? I don't know if we mentioned, but I almost think we said split decision.
I can't remember to be honest.
We both got it right, so it's
Yeah,
decision either way.
yeah. And yeah, what do you
Yeah,
think is next for Marab? I
title.
I'm definitely, but I'm scared of the case where Cheeto beats O'Malley. Then would that not be like instant rematch or something?
Possibly, it depends how he beats him. But even then, Merab's beaten three former champions in a row now. If he has to go through Sandhagen now to go and get a title shot, then it's undeniable. But I think he's next. I think the UFC even said he was next. So it'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of these fights, especially like similar to the Sean Strickland situation with Drickus, he's not getting an immediate rematch, even though it was a split decision. So sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. I guess it's just your luck of the draw and if the UFC likes you or not. But yeah, I think he should get a title shot next. I think he's earned it. He's beat Jose Aldo, Piorion, and Henry Cejudo. I mean, that's a resume of resumes. So for me, should be title shot next.
Yeah, and he's got the charisma to
Mm.
kind of campaign for one as well.
Yeah. I know. He's hilarious, dude, especially off camera.
Yeah,
Okay, then the next one was Geoff. Neal lost to Ian Garry, right?
yeah, split decision.
Split decision. Okay. Yeah, that was a bit of a. I don't know what Garry was doing there. I know it was. It kind of like went the way we thought it would be, where he's trying to evade the big shots, but then he was kind of like dancing around too much for me, and Neal was able to like get close to him. But look, Garry did enough to win, but I did expect a little bit more from him. I wasn't impressed by that performance, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think they were smart to win the fight, but not super smart in terms of the longevity of his career. Like if you look, I'm thinking of like Sandhagen when I can't remember who he fought with when he broke his hand, but the UFC doesn't really like it when you put on a boring performance like that, even if you do win.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the next fight for him. I think he was going to call out Colby Covington anyway. So I think it's a great call out for him because it was not a good performance from him. Or it was a good performance, it was an entertaining performance.
Yeah,
He's talking like he just went out and smashed Geoff Neal because he's like, yeah, the perfect situation. I saw somebody in an interview with him. He said the perfect situation is he beats Colby, then he challenges Shavkat for the title because Shavkat should be able to beat Leon Edwards. Takes his O, then he goes and goes up and beats Khabib, Hamza for the title. Takes his O. That's goat shit right there. And it's like, dude, you're literally pulling a Logan Paul, talking like you've beaten somebody to a
yeah,
pulp, but it was just a split decision. But it was
yeah,
a good call out to call out Colby. I think it's if he beats Colby, then which he can do, then it solidifies him, perennial contender Colby. I don't know if Colby takes that fight. He's a little bit too young for Colby to fight, probably, but yeah.
I am also. I think it's a good call out, but also, I'm too scared of when that fight would actually happen. Like Colby's layoff last time, I don't see him getting back into the octagon anytime soon. So unless it's like an investment
Mm.
of like a year or something, honestly. But I think for the name, very smart. Yeah.
Yeah, they might give him Wonder Boy. I don't know. They need to give him someone in the top. I mean, he beat that number 8 ranked, so I'm assuming. I don't know. I haven't seen the rankings yet. He's probably number 7 or number 6, maybe. It depends. So whoever Leon's going to fight, Leon supposedly said yes to 3 different fights, which was Shavkat, Khamzat, and Islam, and apparently all 3 of them couldn't be made. So
Shame poor Bilal.
what's next for him?
Yeah.
Bilal.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. You know what? They might do
Yeah.
Bilal, Garry, but I don't know if Bilal will want to take that fight because if it's a dangerous fight. Look, for all Ian Garry's cringe, like he's still a decent fighter and he maybe just had an off night, but I think that's a far too risky a fight for Bilal to
Bilal.
take. But I'll find out soon enough, I guess. But yeah, Ian Garry ended up winning by a split decision. Not too convincing, but got the job done. Still unbeaten. Then I think it was. I know I asked you to read the results out, but I've got them. Robert Whittaker beat Paulo Costa. Was it unanimous decision, right?
Yeah. Unanimous decision.
I think it was 30-27, 29-20, 30-27. I think that's a bit harsh. I think Costa won the first round. I think this fight, I mean, look, credit to Robert Whittaker. He did what he had to do to win. But it was a little bit of an underwhelming performance. I think Costa looked really good for me.
Bessie's
I
looked
think
in.
Costa.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Bessie's
Yeah,
looked
sorry, no, yeah.
in a while. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
100%, no, 100%. That brought back memories to pre-Izzy. So when he was like super motivated. A couple of things from this. So the first thing is this just goes and highlights how significant strike stats mean absolutely nothing. Because if you look at the two, Costa overall did way more damage, but Rob just touched him more and got that significant strike number up.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit irritating because Bisping was like, they're like, who do you think won the fight? Bisping goes, show me the significant strike stats. And it's like, stats don't always tell a good story. And that's one thing. The second thing is, this Paulo Costa beats Khamzat, I feel.
Yeah,
Most
I would
definitely,
think
for me, beats Khamzat.
I would agree. I think that this Costa could take out a lot of the top 5 roster.
Mm. So I'm hoping Costa, stays motivated. I was so close. He almost beat him with that wheel kick. Robert Whittaker, as predicted, called out Dricus for a fight. I don't think that fight's going to happen, to be honest with you, not after that performance. But yeah, that's kind of the only fight that makes sense for Robert Whittaker from here. He's in a bit of an odd position because, it's no point taking a risk fighting anybody else. He needed a win. But yeah, I think that Robert Whittaker would have lost to Dricus as well, I feel. I don't know. He just looked a little bit timid. But still, credit to him. He did a good job of it. What did you make of it?
Yeah, good fight. To be honest, like that wheel kick, I thought that it was over for a second. But yeah, the resilience of Rob, like in retrospect, it's the fight that it should have been. It felt like they were both on pretty good form. I do agree that it wasn't like a championship Robert Whittaker, but yeah, I mean, good fight. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. So Robert Whittaker wins by unanimous decision, fair result. We're going to see what the future holds for him, and then we get to the main event. It was both good for me because I predicted it. I said TKO. That was a stone cold KO. But sad to see that happen to Volk. He's like 1-3 in his last 4, which is a little bit sad to see. But hey, man, Habib said it best. Sometime or another, someone's going to catch you. And I did say, and I'm not trying to be, I told you so, but that the layoff was too short after that KO. And interestingly enough, I was speaking to I'm not going to say who, but one of the top coaches, I mean, in the history of South African MMA and martial arts, was chatting to him just after the fight. And he reckons Volk's team, he's got the wrong people in his ear trying to push him to come back too quickly, and actually his team needed to actually tell him, listen, you need some time off and chill. And he thinks that he's got the wrong influence or influences in his team, and that's what drove him to come back so quickly. And I mean, even now he's talking about coming back again and having an instant rematch. Just like, dude, you got KO'd badly twice in the space of 4 months. Like, take some time off. I know he's getting there in age, but yeah, I think he needs to learn from the Islam loss and just maybe take some time off and go do his thing. But Topuria, everything said it would be and more. Dude, that was almost flawless.
Yeah, really good. I mean, I do think that Volk won the first round, and it was honestly very sad for me to see him go out the way he did. But yeah, like, what a performance from Ilia. That, like, touch of death when you had him against the cage, like it like before you got the KO, you could tell it was kind of over. And for me, it was kind of how Volk was going to be able to manage that, like his spatial awareness and making sure that he wasn't on the cage. Because also, if you look at that Emmett fight, like, Ilia, if he gets you against the cage, it's like that's where he does his best work.
He's so sharp and he's so crisp with everything.
Yeah.
He's going to be tough to beat. I know he wants to fight Conor McGregor next. They said they said the next fight possibly that Topuria does is going to be at the Santiago Bernabéu. That is so cool. I would love to go watch that, dude. Santiago Bernabéu is so iconic, dude, for football. Like, as a football fan, that's like one of the most iconic stadiums in world football. So I think if they can do that, get the roof closed, that'll be epic. Conor McGregor would be obviously crazy numbers, but I think they're probably going to look at the winner of this Yair Rodríguez and Brian Ortega, excuse me, because people are saying Max needs the next title shot against Topuria. Ordinarily, I would agree, but I do not think Max is going to be the same after Gaethje's loss. And I'm going to say loss, probably KO. I don't think he's going to be the same, so it's probably going to be Yair Rodríguez that's going to take on. I could imagine the build-up to that, dude. Take on Ilia Topuria at Santiago Bernabéu.
Yeah. Such a fan of
crazy.
Yeah, but also I'm thinking of that McGregor call out, and I'm not sure what hypothetical weight class it would be at if Topuria would go up to middleweight. Or
Well, the thing is, Topuria said the weight doesn't matter. He said, McGregor, you pick the weight, I pick the location. So if McGregor says 185, I mean, Topuria apparently in the cage weighed about 172. So if they do it at 170, he doesn't have to cut any weight. If they do it at 85, I mean, he'll be giving up some weight, but I don't think it would be bad weight he's giving up. I think McGregor at 185 is going to be sloppier, slower, no cardio. If he just can be faster and more fleet footed, he
yeah,
could beat him. So touch of death is touch of death, bro. That's the thing.
yeah.
So I think 170 would probably be the best. Dude, if they did it at 55, oh man, it would favor Topuria quite a bit. But I think Connor would be better at 55 than 70. So interesting. Puts his name in the mix there because who knows what's going to happen with Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
But good call out. I think smart call out. But I'm excited to see what happens now at 145 with Topuria as champion.
Yeah, same. I think he's going to be champion for a while.
Yeah. So overall, good card. What are we giving it out of 10?
I'm going to be objective. I'm going to say 7.5.
Okay, I'm going to give it an 8. I think it was a good card.
Nice, respectable.
I think it was really good. I almost got perfect scores, but yeah, anyway. We'll hope for this week we get perfect scores. After the UFC 298 press conference and everything wrapped up, we finally got the announcement of the main event for UFC 300, which is Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. A little bit of underwhelming, actually, for me. Yeah, after all of these, and there was supposed to be some super fight as well that was announced. I don't know if that's still coming, but yeah, a little bit underwhelming for me. I don't know what do you think about it?
I'm reminded of, like, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when Dana White said to us, he can't wait to announce UFC 300 because it's going to blow all of our minds, and it's nothing that anyone's going to expect or suggested yet. So to me, he clearly couldn't have gotten that fight done. And then this, I mean, like, it's a good fight, like sure, but yeah, definitely not the mind blower that I thought it was going to be.
Like I say, the UFC 300 main event, it's a great fight, like you say as well. Any other time, it would be amazing to see Alex Pereira, who's a massive star, by the way, versus Jamahal Hill for the light heavyweight title. But I just can't help but think that UFC 299's card just blows UFC 300 out the water.
Yeah.
Way, way, way better card for me. I mean, if you switch main events of 300 and 299, then maybe that's like the perfect card. But yeah, very underwhelming for me. It went from Conor McGregor and Chandler to like Poatan going up to face for the heavyweight belt, possibly against Aspinall, to like this super mega fight that's supposed to happen that's going to blow us away. And we're stuck with this, unfortunately. Yeah. But again, it's a lesson to everybody out there. UFC 100, not a bad card, but UFC 200 is such a letdown. UFC 300, for most fans, I feel, is probably going to be a letdown, just the card itself, not the fights. But maybe that's because fans put too much of an expectation. Like, I saw a meme where people wanted, like, McGregor, Jones, like every belt to be on the line, basically. And I think maybe that's just where expectations need to be curbed. But for me, still a very underwhelming announcement. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the UFC Fight Night that's happening this weekend. Moreno versus Royval 2. The first fight is happening at lightweight. That is Manuel Torres 14-2 versus Chris Duncan 11-1. Manuel Torres on a 5-fight win streak, and Duncan is on a 4-fight win streak. I think they both have 4 fights won in the UFC.
Yeah.
What are you saying for this one? Oh, the odds. Manuel Torres a minus 192 favorite and Chris Duncan a plus 160 underdog.
Yeah.
What are you saying for this one?
I can see those betting odds. I think that like Chris is super experienced and it's going to be very hard to put him down. And I don't know, I just see Manuel as just a very unexpected fighter. He's got a lot of tools and we haven't really seen him use all of those tools just yet. I just see him taking the first round, maybe some time to see what tools really work, and I think that he has enough range to keep him at bay while he just kind of finds his openings.
Okay. I agree with you there. I see it It's going to be quite an attacking fight from Torres. Um, and I think he's got the edge speed wise and sharpness. Sharpness wise, I think Duncan's a little bit slower. And then if you take into it that Torres' only two losses have been like by real sort of flashy, semi-flashy leg submissions. And the fact that Duncan's not really much of a submission threat, I don't see a way for Duncan to win this. The speed's not on his side, the sharpness not on his side. He doesn't have the submission threat to beat Torres. So I'm going to go Torres to win by second round knockout in this one. I think also, being Mexican, having the home ground advantage is going to be big in all of these fights. We saw it years ago with Cain Velasquez and Fabricio Verdum. Cain gassed for the first time pretty much in his career because he wasn't used to that altitude. So that's going to be a theme in this card. So I'm going second round knockout for Torres. What are you saying?
I'm going to go decision, unanimous. I just see Chris Duncan as like he's very tough, and I think it's just going to be like quite hard to take him down. But I do see it as a quite decisive victory. Yeah.
Okay. Right. The next one is at the women's straw weight. We've got Yazmin Jauregui versus Sam Hughes. Yazmin, is 10-1. She's coming off of her first loss in her last fight. She's a minus 345 favorite, heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Sam Hughes 8-5, plus 275 underdog, heavy underdog. My prediction here is pretty quick. I think Yazmin is going to be a little bit cautious, having come off her first loss. But I think just overall, for the styles and how much easier Sam Hughes has been beat, especially in the last while, I think Yazmin's still going to be too much, even though she can be super cautious. But because she's cautious, I think she's going to win by decision. And I'm going for Yazmin to win this one, by decision pretty much. What are you saying?
This was actually a pretty tough one for me to call. I think that KO to Gomez was like, I think it's hard to come back from that. Like, it was something crazy, like after a minute in the first round, and it was pretty, and it's a hectic one as well. So I'm kind of leaning more towards Sam Hughes, if I'm honest. I just see her as, it's maybe a bit of a combination of she is a bit of a gatekeeper, and like, yes, whenever the UFC gives her like anyone that's substantial, and she does kind of fold a bit. But I just see it going her way. So I'm going to go Sam Hughes by decision.
Okay. Then we've got Raul Rosas Jr. is 8-1 versus Ricky Turcoy. Turcoy at 12-3. Raul Rosas Jr. 2-1 in the UFC. Same thing with Ricky. Ricky's 2 wins come by split decision in the UFC. Raul Rosas Jr. is also quite a heavy favorite, minus 285 and plus 230 for Ricky. Raul Rosas Jr. Coming off of a comeback win after his first loss. What are you saying for this one? This one's a bantamweight, by the way.
Yeah, I think Ricky has struggled a lot. I still think it's like quite a hard competition for Rosas. I think particularly stylistically, if he doesn't get it to the ground, just because I think that there's a lot of questions that can be answered on the ground more than while standing them more on the ground. I think if he's smart, he should try to take it to the ground, and I do see him doing that. So I'm leaning more towards Rosas, but it is actually quite a tough call for me. What do you think?
I agree with you, but I think Rosas Jr., he's just like that. He's 19 already, and it feels like the other day when he was like 17 when he got signed. I think he's constantly improving. I think he's learning a lot, and super strong submission game. I think that's going to be the play right here. I think for now it's still fine that his stand-up is not where his submission game is, even though his stand-up's not that bad. It's not like a glaring hole.
Yeah.
But I think he needs to improve his stand-up as he goes, which I think he should be doing. I just think also that Ricky, he just lacks the toughness and finishing ability for me. And that ruthlessness. I mean, that's shown in his split decision wins. So I think Rosas Jr. should be able to win. I think he also puts a nice pressure on trying to get it to the ground. Obviously, if Ricky can stuff that, that's a more interesting fight, but I don't think he gets to be able to do that. I think Rosas Jr. also now, being 19, 20, he's still got the beginning stages of man strength coming. You know, like at that age, you can still, for the most part, eat what you want and still look good. You know, you're making quite a few gains in gym. You should be strength wise. So I think he's going to be too much for Ricky, and I think he's going to go and get the win, second round submission. I feel because Raul Rosas Jr. I wasn't sold on him in the beginning, but he's starting to grow on me a little bit. His fighting style in any event, and yeah, second round submission for me.
Okay, nice. I think I'm leaning more towards the TKO in the third. I think that
for Raul Rosas Jr.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next fight we got is Daniel Zellhuber, 14-1-0. This is at lightweight versus Francisco Prado. Quite a big fan of Prado. Still a young kid. I think he's only 21 now. He's 12-1-0. So he's 2-1 in his last three. Prado is 1-1 in the UFC. Zellhuber 2-1 in the UFC, which is his last three fights as well. What are you saying for this one?
So I'm actually leaning more towards Daniel. I'm a big fan of Prado as well. I think that it is quite a big step up in competition. I think Daniel's output for me is really, really impressive. Yeah. Now, what do you think?
I agree with you. You know, I'm a big fan of Prado, but I think they've thrown him a little bit. They've thrown him like pretty in the deep end for his first two fights, which I guess is good. I mean, you know, they've got to test him, but I think he's still young and needs to grow. He's not to grow in the sense of like that he has weaknesses per se. I think it's just more the fact that he needs to mature and he needs that experience and needs that time. I think this is going to be tricky for him, and I think, like you say, with Daniel, he puts a nice pace on, and that again with the theme of this event being the altitude and just the home ground advantage for Daniel adds to the pace that's going to be put on Prado. Added to that, he's probably got the reach. He's got quite a bit, actually not probably, he does have quite a bit of a reach advantage. So I think he's going to take it. But Prado's tough, man. Prado's really, really tough. So I think it's going to be tough for him to put him away. But yeah, for that reason, I'm going to go for decision for Daniel in this one.
Okay, nice. I think decision as well, unanimous.
Sweet. Okay, so we're in agreement there. Then we've got Yair Rodríguez. He's 19-4-1 at featherweight versus Brian Ortega. This is 15-3. Brian Ortega's 1-3 in his last four. Okay, the one was his shoulder injury against Yair Rodríguez. Yair Rodríguez 3-2 in his last five, but his losses have come to Volk and Max. So, yeah, again, it's ordinarily, I didn't have odds for this one, by the way. I couldn't see. I don't know if there's odds now. Are there?
Wait 1 second.
Did you check for us quick before we carry on? Because I saw no odds.
Yeah.
Earlier today.
No odds.
Okay, so still no odds. Okay. So Brian Ortega, the last time he fought was July 2022 because of that shoulder injury against Yair Rodríguez. So it's a massive layoff for him. That's almost it's like 2 years. It's almost a year and 8 months or something crazy like that. Yair Rodríguez has still been active. You know, he's had his losses, like I say, to Volk and Max, but he's still looked impressive on that run. Probably in line for a shot, like we said earlier, against Topuria, should he win this. I don't think it's possible for you to come back off of that longer layoff and that shoulder injury. I mean, I've had a shoulder injury that's nowhere remotely close to Ortega's, and I had it almost 2 years ago, and my shoulder still isn't right. So for him to come back with that level of a shoulder injury, I just don't see it happening. It's still going to be tough to put away. But again, the altitude, the hometown advantage, the fact that Yair Rodríguez is active, I think it's Yair Rodríguez decision because Brian Ortega is still so tough. If it's a finish, maybe a TKO, but I think decision for Rodríguez.
Yeah.
And then probably earns a title shot.
Yeah. I do agree with you, especially since Ortega's like it's just going to be so much harder to get a double or single leg with that shoulder injury. And so much of his game plan is to just get you onto the ground and use his jiu-jitsu. From getting the takedown, that's kind of where his game relies. I think that's where he does his work. And it's just so much harder when you have a shoulder injury. And looking at Yair, if I had to describe like my top 10 featherweights of all time, he's definitely on there. He's maybe even top 5. And I don't know, the activity, I think that does play a huge role, and ring rust is real. So for all of those, I'm also going Yair.
I disagree about him being top 5, though. I think all the champions are the top 5, but it's your list, so you're allowed to have him on the top 5. Okay, but we're both going for Yair. Then the main event at flyweight, we've got the two Brandons, Brandon Moreno, 21-7-2 versus Brandon Royval, 15-7. Royval 3-2 in his last 5, coming with the Pantoja loss. Moreno 3-2. It's also 3-2 in his last 5. Excuse me. For me, this is a fairly easy one. Oh, Moreno minus 250 favorite, by the way, pretty heavy favorite. Royval a plus 205 underdog, pretty heavy underdog. For me, this is a fairly easy one to call on paper. I know it's not going to get there easily, but I want to hear what you have to say first and who you think is going to win and how.
Yeah, okay. So, first thing is, I'm such a huge Moreno fan. Love the guy. He's awesome in the cage art. But I think Royval's actually on such a tear. And like the flyweight, like 3 best flyweights in the world right now for me is Pantoja, Moreno, and Royval for sure. And yeah, I don't think it's a walkthrough at all. And if anything, I'm a little bit wearisome of Moreno's career in his last couple of fights. I think that fighting the same person, so Figgy, so many times, that stunts your development a lot, because you're not fighting for different types of like grapplers and strikers. You're just refining in small refinements in your same game plan each time. Whereas if I look at Royval's career, he's like had to fight a mix of people, and he's come up on top each time, except for the current champion. So I'm Well, before I say who I'm picking, what do you think?
I mean, you're going for Royval. It's pretty obvious, but I agree with what you're saying. It was a bit of a look. When I got to my conclusion, it was pretty easy for me because of the analysis. For me, I just think Moreno's better in every way, to be honest with you. That's the way I see it. I think he's going to be able to wear him down. Again, it's in Mexico. Moreno staying in Mexico also has that added advantage. I think, Pantoja, beat Moreno twice. So, it's tricky for Moreno, because if he wins this fight, like, what do they go have a 4th fight? Again, you have another 4-fight series, but the flyweight division is just it's just so shallow that they kind of have to do it. So it's probably better for the UFC for Royval to win, but I think because for me, Moreno's better in every way, that's just the way I see it. I think he wins this one, and I think he wears him down and actually can finish him probably in like the 3rd or the 4th round, maybe towards the 4th round, just because he'll wear him out. And being in Mexico again, it's a big thing. We can't underplay how big it is for them fighting in Mexico and having people that live and train in Mexico. So yeah, for me, Moreno, TKO, 4th round, or 3rd.
Yeah, that's fair. It was definitely a tough one to call, and my heart is with Moreno. I do hope he wins. And I can definitely see that happening as well. Yeah, so I'm gonna have Royval by submission in the 3rd round.
Okay. Cool. So we are going to see in next week's show who has the picks and who got it right. I like that we have different picks. And look, I can, especially even in the main event, I can see exactly why you've gone with Royval. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So I think it's a little bit closer than what the odds suggest. But yeah, it's gonna be a good fight night. I mean, I'm glad it's not an Apex card, because I'm not starting to not like these Apex cards too much. But this is quite a bit of a bang over card. It could have been a Mexico pay-per-view in itself. Yeah. But yeah, let us know what you guys think of the card. Let us know actually what you think of UFC 298. First of all, I've seen some comments here throughout the week. But let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the fight night. Who's going to win the main event? What do you think is next for people like Volkanovski, for Topuria, for Yair Rodríguez if he wins, for Moreno or Roval, whoever wins there? As always, like the video, comment, subscribe, share it far and wide, and we'll see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys.